Well, hello everyone. It's Sibyl Star, and I'm here to give the astrology forecast for the Gemini full moon, which occurs on December 15th at 1:01 a.m. Okay, Pacific, and that's Pacific time. So it is going to be on the 15th pretty much everywhere. All right, so let us first, I'm going to screen share and I'm going to show you the chart of the full moon. All right, so here it is. All right, so we have the full moon. Like I said, I didn't exactly say the degrees. It's at 23 degrees of Gemini, 52 minutes. And we know the full moon always is exactly opposite the sun. So the sun is at 23 degrees, 52 minutes of Sagittarius. It's this axis, this is the integration of these two energies, okay? And of course, the moon is conjunct the part of Earth, which I've been using now in many of my readings because I've really come to understand the significance of it and why it is important. And so it's here also at 23 degrees, 52 minutes of Gemini. It's always opposite the sun. All right, and so the sun and moon opposition is in a square to Neptune at 27 degrees of Pisces, 8 minutes, so that makes a T square. Okay. Now, Jupiter, the ruler of the sun, is is in an 8-degree conjunction to the moon. So it's there, but it's wide. Okay. All right. Now, so what else do we have going on? We also have the sun is in what is called an inconjunct, which means it's a 150-degree angle from Uranus at 24 degrees of Taurus, and an inconjunct or quincunx, it can be called either one of those names. At least I use them interchangeably. And it is an aspect when you have two very different energies, not like an opposition where it's two sides of the same coin. It's two energies that really don't have a lot in common, but have to work together. And so you have Sagittarius here, which is very much about expansion of consciousness, vision, travel, all of those kinds of things, and seeing the big picture, and Taurus, which is very much about being grounded and present in the being in the present moment, being grounded here on Mother Earth in your body. So they have to work together to make that happen. All right. So now let's go back to we've got Mercury, which is the ruler of the full moon in Gemini, and it's in actually a grand trine. Well, first off, it's stationary. Mercury has been retrograde, but it is now stationary, getting ready to turn direct. And when it's here, it's very powerful. Stationary. When a planet is stationary, it actually has more power. It puts a lot of emphasis, and especially Mercury, because Mercury, likes to run off and be really quick and doing things, and this really slows Mercury down and it kind of makes it be more in the present moment. Okay. Mercury's in a trine with the North Node here at 2 degrees of Aries, conjunct the part of Fortune, which is very good. And also trine Mars retrograde at 5 degrees of Leo. So it makes a grand fire trine. Lots of fire here, lots of fire in this full moon, right? We've got the sun, we've got Mercury, we've got Mars, the North Node, the part of Fortune, and then of course this whole little uh uh we've got Chiron, Eris, Hygeia, the vertex. So we've got some other Aries energy. So there's a lot of fire in this full moon. All right. What else we've got is Jupiter, which is the ruler of the sun here. It's 15 degrees of Gemini in a square to Saturn. And this will be their second time meeting. They'll meet once again in the spring. Okay, we'll talk about what that means. And then lastly, we have Mars. Mars is retrograde in Leo, opposite moving into an opposition with Pluto, moving away from an opposition with Venus. All right, so now we'll talk about what all of that actually means. All right, so All right. So, as we've talked about before, the moon has no light of her own. So, she reflects the light of the sun. And in Western astrology, it really is the dance all of the planets are doing with the sun, our star. That is the basis for Western astrology. And so, at this full moon, we're integrating the signs of Gemini and Sagittarius. It's opposite. And both of these, so it is about the integration of the left and right brain. Gemini is very right brain, very rational, very logical, whereas Sagittarius is very intuitive, very right, and very much more right brained. Okay. Uh, but both are experiential. They're both signs that really experience, they have a need to experience life. And they say Gemini, is the has come into experience every piece of the pie. May not eat the whole piece, but has to have a little taste of every piece of the pie. It's very experiential. And Sagittarius learns by doing. Like Sagittarius only knows fire is hot by putting their finger in it. Like you can't really, it's hard sometimes to be the parent of someone with Sagittarius energy because they do have to learn through experience. Okay. Gemini is the journalist, where there's gathering the facts, just the facts, ma'am. While Sagittarius is like the editor, putting together the facts to create meaning. What does all of this mean? They are the opinion columnists. The Sagittarius is on the quest for the meaning of life. Gemini is the heretic, asking questions, says question everything. Whereas Sagittarius has to do with our beliefs. And, with Gemini, there are no sacred cows. There are no area that you don't touch. It's like we question everything that when Gemini is around. Okay. And with this Gemini full moon, it illuminates old, worn out beliefs and opens our mind to possibilities. We're being asked to let go of the need to be right and see what doors open in your mind when you let go of judgment and that need to be right about something, because quite often I know myself, I really found that it's much more important to be kind than to be right. Okay, as they say, if you have a choice to be kind or to be right, it's always right to be kind, but it's really just to be right. All right, dear. My video seems to be messing up a bit here. Okay. All right. So it is about a recalibration of ideas and beliefs. And with that, a change in perception, which changes our reality. And so the Gemini archetype is of being curious. And like I said, it's the heretic, no sacred cows, question everything. Gemini is about communication. It's the writer, the journalist, the storyteller, the teacher. I've told this story before. My mother was a Gemini and she loved to talk and she had lots of friends. And I sometimes wondered if my mother should have been born with a phone attached to her ear because she was always either on the phone, writing letters, or talking to someone, or reading. She was also a big reader. Reading has a lot to do with Gemini as well. But we're being asked with this Gemini archetype to be open-minded and welcome new possibilities and to suspend disbelief, to let it go, like to suspend disbelief in what is possible. We are in a field of infinite possibilities, so we're being asked to use our imagination and open our minds. It's really about being open-minded, okay? Um, it's and the shadow of Gemini, though, is about chronic busyness. And I didn't mention that about Gemini. It's the twins. And I know Gemini people that, because it is really about balancing the left and the right brain. And I have seen people that can, Geminis that can listen to music and study. I mean, I could never do that. My mind just doesn't work that way. But almost always, if a Gemini will be doing something with their hands, even if they're watching TV, lots of knitters, crocheters. My mother did every kind of art possible. I mean, everybody has a box of the things that my mother made because she just loved doing and creating things. Okay. All right. And Gemini is also can be the trickster kind of an energy. Gemini comes in and helps us laugh at ourselves, helps us to not take ourselves so seriously. And that is really the one of the the big, what would I say, antidotes to Sagittarius self-righteousness, okay, is because Gemini can, and when Gemini can help us make us laugh at ourselves, it really helps us change our perspective. All right, but the shadow of one of the shadows of Gemini is chronic busyness, because it's when we have too many irons in the fire and we are so busy. Often with Gemini, especially the Gemini moon, there is the potential to be able to talk about our feelings, but not really feel them. And we can really avoid feeling as long as we stay really busy. And so this is one of the traps of Gemini. Okay. All right. Now, the Sabian symbol for this new moon, I think, is a really good one. It says, carefree children skating on ice. And so the children are carefree, but there's the potential for danger. So they also have to be aware of what is going on under them with the ice, and to know that life is never fixed, but it lived energetically between what is safe and what is fun. And that they come together, and we're being encouraged to embrace adventure and on a spiritual adventure where we must remain consciously aware and in the present moment, but still enjoying ourselves. All right. Now, this full moon is in a square to Neptune and Pisces at 27 degrees of Pisces, Neptune and Pisces, okay. And Neptune, of course, reminds us of the oneness of all and of unity of consciousness. And that the truth is we've never left the source of creation and we're part of everything that is. We are the I am consciousness, each one of us expressing creator in form. And this is asking us to allow us to acknowledge ourselves as infinite beings of light, having this experience here on Earth. Okay. And as we deepen our own awareness of ourselves as aspects of the divine, the more we can recognize the divine in others. And it reminds us that we are never alone. We can always ask for help, that our prayers are always heard and answered, but may not always be the way we envisioned. Okay, or even in the timing, when the timing is right. Neptune in Pisces asks for surrender, and there are times we must acknowledge the illusion of control and surrender to the will of Creator. And the will of Creator is actually our own will. It's part of why we incarnated here. Divine will is our soul plan, and but we are at a time, I feel like this square is also saying the veil of illusion is lifting with the square. And as it does, we are being shown the true nature of reality and the true nature of our world. And it can be jarring. We may want to hold on to the illusion. We may want to hold on because we are attached to our illusions of the way we want the world to be, the way we want our lives to be, believing what we want to believe instead of what is really true on a personal and a collective field. So as the veil is being lifted, having the courage to look at what you really see there and say it. Okay, and know that words are magic. That is another piece of Gemini, recognizing that words are magic and words create. And so, but I feel like the biggest illusion that the veil is being lifted up on is that we are separate from source. We are in the time of remembering as we're going through the photon belt, the time of remembering who we are. And so sometimes we can have our reality jarred and shaken to kind of bring us back into that remembrance instead of participating in the illusion of the outer world. Okay. All right. Now, the sun is also conjunct the galactic center, which is at 27 degrees, 11 minutes of Sagittarius. So it's about 3.5 degrees off. It's going to be exact on December 18th, but we're definitely in that field. And the Galactic Center. As a matter of fact, I'm sitting in front of the latest image from the James Webb Telescope of the Galactic Center. Okay. And so as we're coming into this alignment with the galactic center, it allows us to experience our full connection to source, the great central sun, to which all the suns are, our stars are connected. And the galactic center, it is said to be a black hole, but we really know that these, what they're called, when our 3D astrophysics is calling black holes, um, our higher frequency Star Nation relatives tell us it's actually portals to other universes. And the galactic center is a great, it is what connects us to Prime Creator. It embodies the heart of the cosmos, where the divine is most potent and where we connect with Prime Creator, the source of all creation. And so as we're traveling, this energy is flowing into us. That's one of the reasons I feel like why December is always such a month of so much light, even in the midst of darkness here in the Northern Hemisphere, because we are traveling, we are lining with the galactic center. It is a transmitter of divine consciousness, and like I said, it embodies the heart of the cosmos, where the divine will is most potent. It allows us to transcend the material realm and access the infinite wisdom and love of Creator, manifesting these truths in our lives. So yeah, so that's it's a very powerful time of the year as we align with the galactic center. And the sun is actually, as we talked about, in conjunct Uranus and Taurus. And I feel like what this is telling us, it is about our connection to Mother Earth and our bodies. And that in conjunct, like I said, is two energies that need to get along so we can have this spiritual growth and expansion of Sagittarius. But Uranus and Taurus is reminding us that we're doing this in our bodies. We're not leaving our bodies. We are actually getting these these upgrades, these crystalline upgrades that are coming in with the light. Of course, we're still having so many solar flares. We're having all of these things, but the galactic center is really transmitting this divine energy, but it's in our bodies. And as we hold it in our bodies, this increased light, we hold it and ground it into Mother Earth, as it is all part of the shift that is happening. And to remember that we are made of Mother Earth materials and are an expression of her, as well as an expression of Creator. And Mother Earth supports us with infinite vitality and abundance. It may take a shift in our perspective to remember and to tap into her light, but yet that is what this is about. Okay. Now we do have a couple of fixed stars, but first I want to show you the beautiful night sky that we have in December here in the Northern Hemisphere. Okay. I want to show you this because it's just really beautiful. All right. So the night sky in the winter here. It's going to be here through December, January, February. We should be able to see all of these. So here is Orion, and if you see a lot of stars, I don't see that many stars. So Orion's a lot more prominent. But here are the three belt stars of Orion. Here is the Orion Nebula. The full moon in Gemini is very closely aligned with these three belt stars and with the Orion Nebula. But here, let me point out you so you can see Orion. Here's Betelgeuse. Here is Bellatrix. Then you come down here, here's Rigel, and here, this is, I think I can't remember this one's name. But anyway, so there you can see Orion. And then just directly kind of over and down is Sirius, okay? And here, and if you look up to the right of Orion, you can see the Pleiades over here on a clear night. They should be very visible right now. This chart also points out Aldebaran. It is a red star that is in the eye. It's called the Eye of Taurus, the bull. You might be able to see that as well. Anyway, if you have any type of a device that shows you where the stars are, just know these should be very bright in December, January, and February. All right. All right, let's get back to, all right. So, and I did want to talk about what that actually means, of course. Okay, so the fixed stars, of course, the full moon in Gemini is conjunct the stars of the belt of Orion and the Orion Nebula. Uh, the belt stars are known as the pearls of Orion. And in the Orion Wars, there's the three fixed stars in the belt. They're called Mintaka, Al-Nilam, and Al-Natak. Okay, and those three stars are aligned with the pyramids of Giza. And in the Orion Wars, many spiritual leaders came from these stars. And when these stars are prominent in a person's chart, it has the energy of a priest, king, spiritual leaders, and prophets. So they're very powerful stars, and they're stars of spiritual teaching. They have very profound spiritual teachings. Each one of these stars have their own civilizations with very profound teachings. And it is said that the Orion Nebula is the portal through which many from the angelic realm enter into the Milky Way galaxy. So these are very prominent stars. Now, the sun at the full moon is aligned with the star Ras Al Heg, which is the brightest star in the constellation of Ophiuchus, sometimes known as the 13th constellation. And this star was said to be put in the sky to honor Asclepius, who was a divine healer. He was a demigod. He was half human and half divine, and he was taught the arts of healing by Apollo, who was the god of healing. He's a divine healer, and what the constellation is said to be a man holding a serpent. He's got the constellation serpens around him, and that is the symbol of Asclepius, is the staff with the serpent on it. Okay, and Asclepius was known all over the Mediterranean for his dream healing temples. People would come in asking for a healing through their dreams, and they, of course, would be purified, initiated, and then the priest and the supplicant would then go into 3 nights of dreaming, and there would be, when the priest and the supplicant had the same dream, they would know that that was the healing. And it could be anything from herbs you needed to what god you needed to appease, what food you needed to eat, and maybe what you needed to do to bring peace in your home, that maybe you're having problems with your mother-in-law. Anyway, so this could be also a really good time if you're into dream incubation, being really aware of your dreams, and you may have some healing dreams. All right. Now, all right, so we have Saturn squared Jupiter, and this is in effect for the whole month of December, but it's exact on December 24th and 25th. And like I said, they will meet up one more time. This is their second meeting. They will meet up one more time, and that will be in when is that? Oh, in June, but they will have changed signs. They will have both moved into Aries and Cancer. Anyway, so what does this mean? Well, a square is always a challenge. Well, first off, these two planets bring manifestation together. But first it's showing us where the problems might be in our ability to manifest. And the first is a loss of belief in ourselves. Jupiter has to do with our beliefs. Jupiter is about expansion, and Saturn is about limitation. Jupiter brings in opportunity. It's called the Santa Claus of the zodiac, whereas Saturn is more like your grandfather that has really learned through living life. And there's a lot of wisdom there, but it can be challenging. And Saturn also shows us where we feel limited, where we're holding our fear, and and Jupiter shows us how to expand. All right. So when they come together, I think this is one of the things it means, well, in Gemini and Pisces as well, a loss of belief in ourselves. We may have come to believe that something outside of ourselves knows what is best for us, but it is about reclaiming trust in our own inner guidance. But Saturn says to slow down, to be able to listen. This could also be an indication of a loss in faith that the universe is benevolent and loving. And it's reclaiming our faith in the benevolence of the universe. And we do that by trusting ourselves. Okay. And it's about possibilities and opportunities that come up against judgment of self and others, allowing us to see how we may sabotage our own opportunities to manifest. And the first step is to release judgment and to know that it is a choice. We can hold on to it, or we can let it go. We can catch ourselves and say, really asking, is this being judgmental in any way? And if we find that it is, say, well, I maybe need to look at this differently. Great opportunities will present themselves, but we're also being asked to use discernment as to their truth for you. But I think one of the most important things that is about manifestation when Jupiter and Saturn are dancing together, because they do. Saturn is about the reality that we live in, the consensus reality and the reality that we live in, and how to work with the laws of nature in this reality. And Jupiter opens the doors for opportunity to really do that. So, but I heard this really good analogy that I'd like to share with you. I heard this from Wendy Kennedy, who channels the Pleiadians. And she says, thoughts are like the vehicle, while emotions are like the fuel that drives the vehicle. And so, what I'm referring to here is manifestation. We know that thoughts create. Thoughts are like the light, it's what gives it form, but it is the emotion behind it that drives it. So, if we're wanting to create something, but there's not a lot of emotion, probably nothing is going to happen. It's like, I'd like to have this, but it's not happening. So, I'll just. But if there's something there that is really important to us, but the most important thing is that everything is created from a baseline of frequency that pulses out into the universe and reflected back to you. So it's like if let's say we want joy in our life, it's like a boomerang. If we want more joy in our life, we need to feel joyful. It's important and even just to say, what would it feel like to be joyful? What could it, I wonder, and just allow yourself to move into that emotion, because that's what drives it. Or if we want love in our life, well, we must first love ourselves, deeply love ourselves. And it's like a vibration. It's a magnetic vibration that draws it to us. We want abundance in our life. It's so important to feel, what would it be like to feel abundant and successful, to not worry about your bills, to just, know that the universe will take care of this, and I am abundant, I am full, I am successful, and it's a boomerang and brings it back in. And she said, this is the Pleiadian way of manifestation. I'm actually taking a course with her around the Pleiadian way of manifestation, and it just really resonated with me that thoughts are the vehicle, but emotions are the fuel. So, if you're wanting to be successful, but you have really poor thoughts of yourself, that's what's going to be reflected back, or poor feelings about yourself. That's what's going to be reflected back to you. Yeah. So anyway, to know that it is a boomerang effect, and how we feel is what's going to manifest back to us and show us that in the world. All right. All right. So we have Mercury, of course, god of the mind, who has been retrograde, who goes direct on the day of the full moon, but is actually is stationary during the full moon, has not yet gone direct. And a stationary Mercury means it seems that it is just sitting still. So it's just tremendous focus. So what is the message of this very focused Mercury? Well, Mercury in Sagittarius is visionary, it's imaginative, it's explorative. It is about seeing the bigger picture. And of course, it's about letting go of that need to be right once again, so that we can open to all of the possibilities that are in the field, anything that we can imagine. And Sagittarius also brings in humor and the importance of laughter. As they say, laughter is the best medicine, especially when we can laugh at ourselves. Okay. Because then when we're not taking, and so Mercury rules Gemini. So it is that trickster kind of an energy. Okay. Because Mercury is a trickster, he is a magician. Okay. All right. Now, Mercury was retrograde from November 26th until December 7th. So I feel like it went retrograde to help us get a different perspective, a time to question assumptions, view situations from new perspectives, and arrive at better solutions. The old paradigm is crumbling, and with it, new opportunities present themselves if we can trust and let go of the fear. The old way of doing things, the old world is crumbling. The old solutions aren't working. We really need to be open to the new things that are coming in, even if we don't like them at first. We never like change. And we like to hold on to old opinions and beliefs, but that's all they are. When we can let go of them, we can open to the new possibilities. New ways of viewing reality are showing themselves. And instead of viewing the world in terms of what could go wrong, maybe we could view the world in terms of what could go right, because we are living in this field of infinite possibilities and miracles. As they say, some people look for errors and mistakes, while others look for beauty and inspiration. And we usually find what we are looking for. Okay. All right. Now let's talk about Mars. This Mars retrograde, Mars went retrograde, actually goes retrograde on goes retrograde on the 6th. Yeah, retrograde on December 6th. All right. And at 6 degrees of Leo. And Mars is going to be there until, what is it, February 23rd at 17 degrees of Cancer. And Mars is in Leo all of December. It doesn't move back into Cancer until I think it's like January 4th. So we start the new year with both Mars and Pluto opposite each other in the Aquarius Leo axis at 0 degrees, which is the most potent degrees actually of any sign. When it first enters, it's super strong. Anyway, but first let's just talk about Mars. Okay, so Mars is the warrior. He's about passion and about direction in life. He's about the vital life force and how we use it. Mars is also about our personal egoic will or our free will choice, and where and what we choose to take action. Okay. And Mars in Leo asks us to have, and Mars is always about courage as a warrior, it says have courage and the courage to let your light shine. The brightest light is the sun, and Leo is associated with the light of the sun. And as we let our light shine, it is really how we light up the world. Okay. And it can bring with it a surge of bold energy, lighting up every part of our life. It's a strong, passionate desire nature. It's a very creative time. We are creating a new world. And so the creative juices are very active. And I also feel like Mars in Leo is a warrior of light. Okay. It's a warrior of light going into the darkness to bring light into the darkness. Okay. Now, Mars is, like I said, is retrograde from December 6th to February 23rd. And so when Mars goes retrograde, any planet that goes retrograde turns inward before it turns outward. And Mars is a planet of action. And so when Mars goes retrograde, it asks us to stop and think before we act. It becomes inner focused. It becomes more of a slow burn instead of a wildfire. Okay. And so Mars in Leo is very passionate. And so I feel like this energy is helping us to control our passions and get clear so that we can begin to direct them into what is really in our hearts and where to take action. But it's a process. We may not know until Mars goes direct or until Mars crosses over this 6 degree of Leo sign, which is in April. It also can be a time when our plans fall through suddenly and unexpectedly, as they may not be in alignment with our soul plan. And so it's asked us to really be flexible when Mars is retrograde. Mars in Leo takes us deep into ourselves to discover our deepest passions, what drives us and generates our life force. And when Mars goes direct in February, we may find ourselves on a completely different path. And if not then, in April when Mars is at 6 degrees of Leo. Okay. All right. Now, this Mars continues to be opposite Pluto. It's going to be opposite Pluto all of December and part of January. Then it kind of goes out of range. I mean, the energy is still there. It's been initiated, but they've kind of gone off and kind of doing their own thing, and they're going to come back together again in April. Okay. And so first let's talk about Pluto and Aquarius, okay? Because Pluto has just entered Aquarius in November 19th. Well, we've gotten taste of him. We got a little bit of taste of him in uh, 2022 and 2023, just a little taste. Now it's going to be there completely, and it is really a new era with Pluto in Aquarius. All of the outer planets will have traveled through Aquarius in the last 30 years, and I feel like that is a big leap into the age of Aquarius. And of course, Pluto is very much about death and rebirth. And I want to read you I want to show you actually this beautiful quote from Mary Ann Williamson because I think it is just so powerful. Well, hold on. I got to get it up here first. Oh, I see. I've got to, there we go. All right. Okay, so here it is. And I think this is so powerful. Okay, she says, we are living in two worlds simultaneously. One, the fall of Rome, and the other, a new renaissance. We need to be both death doulas and birth doulas, helping die peacefully the systems that need to die and helping give birth to a wholly different kind of world. Yeah, she's so poetic when she's on her game. Yeah. All right. So anyway, and that is absolutely where we are. Pluto is a death and rebirth. We're in a death and rebirth of our nation, well, of the world, but specifically to the United States, because we're still in the last dregs of our Pluto return. And we're really seeing the old collapse. I mean, we're seeing it right in front of our eyes. And the thing is to not hang on to it and to allow the new that is coming in. And I'm just going to give one small example because I think it is so prescient and it is so um, glaringly um, in our consciousness. And it was the last election and how the two campaigns handled their communication or their campaigns. The Democrats used the old traditional way. They used the old media, the mainstream media, whereas the Republicans and Trump used the podcast. And the podcast, I mean, it was overwhelmingly, I believe, the factor that really changed the dynamic because the podcast and the technology is the new technology. This is kind of where I'm going. It's about the new technology and how to reach people. The old way is dying, and holding on to it is not a winning solution. So anyway, just wanted to bring that piece up. Nothing else about the election other than that. All right, so because it is a revolution in consciousness, we know the last time Pluto was in Aquarius, we had big revolutions. We had the American Revolution, we had the French Revolution, which of course turned really bloody. The American Revolution turned out miraculously well, and the French Revolution ultimately did too, but they went through some really difficult times. But I feel like as we're moving into this revolution, it's about a revolution in consciousness and learning how to create the new world in the quantum field, and using technology to assist us, okay, as well as the development of our own inner technology. We only use about 10% of our own inner spiritual technology in our minds, and we're learning how to use that. It is about the transformation of collective consciousness, because Aquarius is very much about collective consciousness, and Pluto is about transformation. And the thing is, it requires each of us to do our own inner work to be able to transform the collective consciousness. It's the power of the group, how small groups in the same resonant field can create change. Was Margaret Mead said, never underestimate the power of small groups. They are the only things that has ever really created any real change. And I love this quote here. It says, when a complex system is far from equilibrium, small islands in a sea of chaos have the capacity to shift an entire system to a higher order. Okay, so this tells us it is coming together in the same resonant field with focused intention. We can really impact consciousness and the state of the world. The key here is that we all must do our own shadow work, healing places where we are still living from our traumas and where we feel separate from source. Because the key is the frequency of the group. The resonant frequency of the group is what what determines the outcome. Okay. All right. And so, but as Mars and Pluto dance together, Pluto, is, like I said, is about the shadow. Uh, Mars is about action. It's our behavior. Okay. So it is showing us the shadow of our behavior or that of others, which is actually a reflection of something about ourselves that we need to see. This Mars-Pluto opposition may bring up old unresolved conflicts. And with Mars retrograde, though, we are more aware because we're not acting. It's not about reactions. It is about recognizing that we have a choice of how to respond to a conflict that shows up in our field. We can make a conscious choice of how to respond instead of an unconscious reaction from a place of trauma. And that's how we heal the trauma. But I feel like Mars retrograde is slowing us down so we don't have those knee-jerk reactions. We're being given an opportunity to think about what is the best way to respond to this situation. And as we know, Mars and Pluto in any aspect is a powerful force, and it's the kind of energy that can move mountains. So to be sure that it is the right mountain. And that is the other piece Mars retrograde is about. It can show us as we have time to contemplate. We're not going to maybe make those knee-jerk reactions, okay? Mars retrograde slows things down so we can take the time to think things through before leaping. And if plans are not working out the way you want, it is the universe stepping in to help you reassess the situation. It may bring up how we deal with disappointment when we don't get what we want, because it is about aligning our own personal egoic will with divine will, and Mars retrograde will actually be helpful there. And so when we don't get something we want, it's a sign of maturity, really, how we deal with disappointment and accept what is and move on, and also letting go of expectations of others, realizing that we cannot control anyone else, The only thing we have control over is ourselves and our responses to whatever it is that shows up in our lives. And we don't know anyone else's circumstances, why they are behaving the way they are. We have the only reason we're disappointed is because we had an expectation. So as we let go of expectations, then we will not be disappointed. All right. Now, Mars is the ruler of the North Node in Aries. And what's interesting is this Mars is also conjunct the North Node of the United States at 5 degrees of Leo. And so not only are we still in the midst of our Pluto return, we are actually having our way forward shown to us. Although Mars is retrograde, he's going to go back into Cancer for several months, and so there's the rehashing of some old stuff, but is really showing us the way forward, and it can lead us into a bright future, a freedom of expression and creativity as well. The old paradigm is collapsing while the new one is in process. All right. Now, there's also a really wonderful grand fire trine with Mars, Mercury, in the North Node in the part of fortune. And this is a powerful source of energy moving us in a new direction, bringing with it insights and reflections that may show you your way forward if you have the courage to follow your heart. If things are moving rapidly and in a new direction, and the key is to put your energy behind what lights your fire. The creative juices are cooking and things are moving under the surface, even if you can't see it in your outer world. And so, in conclusion, I feel like what this full moon is saying is as our thoughts and beliefs are recalibrated, it opens doors to a world of new possibilities. Many new ideas and solutions to old problems are entering our field. As we move through these changing times, also be easy on yourself and be easy on one another. We are at the beginning of something new. We are learning a new way of being, and we are creating a new world, and we are on a great spiritual adventure. And finally, the most important thing of all is ask yourself what makes you come alive and go do that, because that is what the world needs, is people who have come alive. And I feel like this Mars retrograde motion is what this exactly is about, is to help each one of us get in touch with that juicy, creative part within each of us, that flame of passion that burns, because that is what we need here, are people that have come alive. But we are in process. And that process won't be over for several months, but this is what it is about. All right. Wishing you all a wonderful month. And if you like this video, please check like and subscribe. And if you're interested in a reading, all my information is in the description box. I am running a discount. I don't have my discount button activated yet on my website, but I will soon. And so you can just contact me and I will give you the discount. And happy holidays to everyone. Have a wonderful Christmas and namaste.